Good evening. A family speaking out tonight about alleged violence at a Mississauga Montessori school. Incidents that led to criminal charges against an employee.
Now they've launched a multi-million-dollar civil lawsuit. CTV's Janice Golding spoke with the family and their lawyer and joins us live tonight with their story. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, parents at a Montessori school in Mississauga near Mill Creek and Derry Road say that they are suing the school because their child allegedly experienced abuse at the hands of a teacher.
PTSD, very scared.
Tanya says she and her family are dealing with the aftermath of abuse. Violence, she says, her son endured at his Mississauga Montessori.
I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't understand it. I had a hard time understanding why.
Tanya says she was alerted about the incidents by the school, which she says posted this serious occurrence notification in a school hallway in early February. The notice reads that an ECE placement student had reported potential abuse in November and December.
What we've heard about so far is that there was a hair-pulling incident. There was some sort of a slapping incident during nap time, and we've also learned of some denial of food.
Peel Regional Police have confirmed that Fouzia Omer, a 43-year-old Montessori-trained teacher in classroom at Western Heights Montessori School, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of assault on February 21st.
I just thought that he's just missing me, so we worked on it. We will sing songs in the days that he has to go to the daycare, not knowing that there was probably something else there.
Tanya says 2 years earlier, her daughter had been locked in a classroom at the school.
CAS was involved, and they told me this was a mistake. It wasn't intentional.
And now she's blaming herself for what allegedly happened to her son, especially given at 2 years old, he wouldn't be able to tell her if he'd experienced anything else.
I was so sorry that this happened to him, and he probably was really scared. He still is scared. He mentions the teacher's name. In the middle of the night, he wakes up multiple times. He mentions this teacher's name.
In a statement, the school says it is limited in what it can say, given this is an ongoing legal matter. Adding, however, we take any concerns involving student safety extremely seriously. When concerns were brought forward, the school promptly notified the appropriate authorities in accordance with its legal obligations and is cooperating fully with the ongoing investigation. The family has now launched a $2 million civil suit against Western Heights Group. Since then, they say they've heard from other parents at the Mill Creek campus about additional possible incidents.
What we'd like is if there are any parents that have children that were in this school or in this particular class, if they have any inkling that anything, may have taken place with their child.
Tanya says they just want to protect other students and families from what they're now going through.
It's not about the money. The pain that we're going through every day, the pain of looking at my child, what happened, how can I erase that?
The serious occurrence notification form indicates that the teacher is on leave while an investigation commences, an investigation that will include interviews of fellow teachers as well as review of any available surveillance video. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. A Hamilton police officer is facing child exploitation charges in Halton region. 43-year-old Constable David Hamilton, a 19-year member of the service, is accused of possessing and transmitting child sexual abuse and exploitation material. It's alleged to have occurred between January 3rd and 4th in Burlington. He's been suspended without pay and is scheduled to appear in a Milton court at a later date. And staying in Halton region, a Milton therapist is facing assault charges. 25-year-old Muaz Safraz was arrested yesterday and charged with 6 counts of assault, 1 count of assault with a weapon, and 1 count of assault causing bodily harm. Investigators allege the offenses occurred during recent therapy sessions at Spectaco Kids on Bronte Street in Milton. Police say they've identified 2 victims, both of whom are children with autism who were alone with the accused at the time of the alleged offenses. Investigators believe there may be more victims. Anyone with information is asked to contact police.
Also tonight, calls to keep your cell phone close at hand. Toronto police warn thefts are on the rise. The alarming numbers and tips for protection. But first, let's take a live look outside this evening. And what do you see there? I know we had some flurries today and the potential for more, but we've hit a lovely milestone as far as our sunsets are concerned. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a look at the current conditions and what I think is great news
I think this is great news too, Michelle. It is our first 6 p.m. sunset of the year, 6:01 to be exact. The clouds interfering a little bit there, but we're celebrating over here. We have had flurries today, heavy at times. We woke up to snow, so that was measurable to start off the day. And just most recently, downtown Toronto, portions of York region and Durham region dealing with these bursts of snow. For the most part, this is going to start to settle down as the night goes on. In fact, a special weather statement has just come to an end for Durham region, but it remains in place for the Barrie area, and we've got snow squall warnings for communities near Lake Huron. Winds out of the west are strong, gusting close to 50 kilometers per hour. It was mild today. We made it to a high of +2, but now the temperature is falling eventually to an overnight low near -10 degrees, feeling like -17. So a chilly start to the day tomorrow, but we'll talk about some mild weather in store for Friday. That's coming up. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Still ahead, challenging COVID-19 regulations that banned indoor dining. A Toronto restaurant owner is in court claiming his constitutional rights were violated.
Humber Polytechnic has announced it plans to trim its workforce.
Voluntary exit packages are being offered to staff as Ontario's post-secondary sector deals with continuing financial pressures. CTV Sean Leithong is live on Humber's Lakeshore campus tonight with more. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, the financial constraints that Ontario colleges have been facing has been noted for some time. But these voluntary exit packages, the union says they wonder what will come after.
There will be fewer full-time staff at Humber Polytechnic Lakeshore campus in the near future after they were offered voluntary exit packages.
Obviously, there's risks, in the sense that you could lose some really great people, institutional knowledge and capacity that's been built up.
Jessie Clark is a contract staff member and has not received this offer, but she is well aware of the financial constraints Ontario colleges are facing.
It's probably not ideal, but I mean, they're dealing with a very limited set of choices.
Despite an announcement 2 weeks ago of some $6.2 billion in investment for colleges from the province, Humber President Anne-Marie Vaughan wrote in a letter to staff that reads in part, Humber continues to navigate significant financial pressures outside of this investment, including caps on international students, rising operational costs driven by inflation, and the structural impacts of years of constrained funding. These challenges have created a growing strain on our budget. Unfortunately, we've arrived at the time when we must make more fundamental choices. Vaughan said that packages will reflect years of service to Humber.
People have been kind of caught unaware of the layoffs, so people really need to be proactive here about what this package means.
Milos Vasic is president of the Humber Faculty Union and a liberal studies professor. He says of the approximately 650 full-time staff, offers will be anywhere from 20 weeks salary to 45 weeks depending on years of service, with a 10% bonus on top. But the major concern is what will happen after packages have been rolled out.
Because everywhere else where this has been done, these exit packages, they have been the prelude to pretty significant layoffs.
Vasic points to Conestoga College in Kitchener as an example. Premier Ford was asked about this today.
No one has invested more money into colleges and university than our government, $7 billion. And we just gave them $6.2 billion over 4 years on top of the existing funding. So I wish them all the best, drive efficiencies, run it like a business, educate our kids for jobs of the future.
But some students say these changes could hurt their education.
I know there's already so many limited options for when classes can happen, when professors are available to get feedback, which affects our grades and our ability to understand the material.
Staff have until March 9th to decide if they want to take the package.
And beyond the March 9th deadline, there is also the fiscal year end, according to Milos Vasic, which is March 30th. So they are expecting an interesting month. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Premier Ford also weighed in today on amalgamation discussions in Niagara region. The provincially appointed regional chair says combining municipalities will drive efficiencies as residents face climbing tax bills.
I think people are sick and tired of, over a term, double-digit tax increases in one term. Taxes have gone up 25%. I'm going to repeat that, 25%. I'm going to look at their proposal, and it has to be led by Niagara. Simple as that.
The Premier said the number of councillors representing residents across the 12 municipalities, as well as the regional municipality, was disproportionately high, adding to the burden on taxpayers. He said something needed to be done, but he would support the decisions reached by the region's mayors.
Colorful and sometimes controversial, former city councillor Giorgio Mammoliti has died. Mammoliti's son, Christopher, confirmed his father's death to CTV News, saying he was surrounded by family. Mammoliti first became an NDP MPP in 1990 when he was just 28 years old. He lost his seat in 1995 and later successfully ran for city council in North York. At City Hall, Mammoliti was known for his outspoken style. He remained on council until he lost his seat in 2018. Giorgio Mammoliti was 64 years old. More than 5 years after defying public health orders during the pandemic, a former Toronto restaurant owner is getting his day in court.
A constitutional challenge began this morning, launched by the former owner of Adamson BBQ in the hopes of proving the restrictions placed on him were an infringement on his rights. CTV's Rahim Ladani has more.
The former owner of Addison BBQ, who made headlines for disobeying COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, is back in court.
Will be opening for in-restaurant dining against provincial orders.
Adam Skelly posted this video in November 2020 when Ontario was in the midst of a second COVID wave and restaurants were ordered to shut down indoor dining. Skelly says the government of Ontario, the City of Toronto, and former medical officer of health, Dr. Eileen Davila, infringed on his charter rights. Skelly's lawyer argues the ban on indoor dining was an overstep of power, harming small business owners without proper medical justification. For 2 days, Skelly opened his Etobicoke location to a large crowd of supporters. Before he can open on day 3, officers blocked the entrance. Police said they also changed the locks after Dr. Davila ordered the business closed under several health and safety regulations. Skelly's lawyer argues Dr. Davila signed a trespass notice which was excessive. Skelly's defiance led to charges of mischief and obstruction. Meanwhile, the city says freedom of expression didn't give Skelly a right to disobey laws, and that even if his rights were limited, it was justified under the charter. Adding vaccines were not yet available, and Dr. Davila had reasonable grounds to believe restrictions were necessary to reduce the risk to the public. In its filing, the province states there is no constitutional right to offer indoor dining at a restaurant. The hearing is scheduled for 3 days. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
A sixth complainant shared her story today at the sexual assault trial of Canadian billionaire Frank Stronach. Through tearful testimony, a 73-year-old woman said she lost her zest for life after Stronach allegedly forced himself on her on Valentine's Day in 1986. She called the incident traumatic and says it turned her into a social recluse. The 93-year-old billionaire has pleaded not guilty to 12 charges linked to 7 complainants.
New numbers obtained by CTV News show cell phone thefts are on the rise across the city.
A CTV's John Woodward reports what seems like small-time thefts can add up to big dollars for organized criminals.
It was such an emotional event for me. I felt so helpless.
Alamine's locker was broken into when he was swimming at the Milton Leisure Centre, and soon he was tracking his iPhone's location to other parts of the Greater Toronto Area before it disappeared completely.
My phone is already out of the city within just 1 or 2 hours.
Amin becoming another victim in a crime that is surging, according to data obtained by CTV News through a Freedom of Information request to Toronto Police. Before the pandemic, about 4,000 phones were stolen across the city of Toronto. That dropped to about 2,000 in 2021, and since has been increasing rapidly, surpassing pre-pandemic highs in 2024, approaching 5,000 last year. The lion's share reported to police downtown and in Liberty Village.
The phone theft is often the entry event in a crime chain that can go around the world.
Cybersecurity expert Claudio Popa says those phones can be sold, stripped for parts, or used in identity theft to access bank accounts and more. Some victims have traced their phones to other countries.
If you're talking about tens of thousands of phones, we're talking about millions of dollars in potential revenues that help to fund not just one group, but an entire ecosystem.
We saw a significant uptick, particularly last year in Pride.
Toronto police warned about professional pickpockets at large public events last year, and over at Rebel nightclub in Toronto's harbourfront last week, bouncers collared 2 people they said were carrying multiple stolen phones hidden in an RFID pouch around their waist, saying, "Our team is just as fed up with this behaviour as our guests are."
The first thing that people do when they steal a phone is they pop it into an RFID aluminum coated Faraday pouch, so that it immediately disappears from the network.
Thieves also turning to robberies of cell phone stores, some attacks caught on camera numbering in the dozens last year. Amin said he complained to leisure centre staff about the stolen phone.
They were sorry, and right when I said that, they mentioned, "Oh, it happened again."
He wants the centre to put in security cameras for evidence. Police say it's best to keep phones out of sight in crowded areas, record their serial number, and make sure they are digitally locked tight. John Woodward, CTV News.
In his State of the Union address last night, U.S. President Donald Trump didn't mention Canada by name, but he did defend his tariff policies that have fueled the standoff between our 2 countries.
This comes as a top U.S. trade official says renewed in-person talks could be on the horizon. CTV's Mike Couture has the details.
The State of the Union address? Prime Minister Mark Carney says he didn't watch the State of the Union address, but there are impacts for Canada. President Trump made it clear tariffs are a key plank in his economic plan for the U.S.
The view of the American administration is that there'll be a price to access the American market. I think, every country of the world that I know of is paying a price. What I'm saying is that Canada is paying the lowest price.
But that price could be paid in jobs. The U.S. Trade Representative today making it clear this is about moving manufacturing back to America.
We really want to focus on reshoring here. We want to have production here. We don't necessarily want to be dependent on China, Canada, or anybody else for things like cars and that kind of thing.
The U.S. has 50% levies on steel and aluminum going into their country and 25% tariffs on autos. It's why the Canadian government is trying to diversify trade away from our American neighbors.
GM and Stellantis have been cutting jobs here in Canada. Well, we will look towards Koreans, we will look towards Germans, and we'll look towards Chinese investments.
While looking for other trading partners, Canada continues to work on saving the trade deal with the U.S. and Mexico.
The Canadians, I was in contact with my counterpart just this morning. He's going to come to town in a couple weeks. They have a few ideas on how they might want to have a deal with us. We're obviously open to that.
By comparison, Dominic LeBlanc's office was far less committal. In a statement, a spokesperson for the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade would only say LeBlanc and Greer had a number of brief, informal exchanges in recent days about a potential in-person meeting in Washington, D.C. in the near future. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
With trade top of mind, Prime Minister Mark Carney will begin a 9-day trade trip tomorrow, making stops in India, Australia, and Japan.
There's a lot of opportunities also for infrastructure investment. There's a lot of things also with a number of companies in India. Same thing in Australia, the Maple Lake. I mean, it's really, it's the urgency we have to diversify.
Liberal MP Matt Genereux, who recently crossed the floor from the Conservatives, will be part of the Canadian delegation. They will be joined by New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt and Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe during the Indian leg of the trip. The Prime Minister's office says the aim here is to unlock new opportunities for Canadian workers and businesses and improve regional ties.
The U.S. and Iran are preparing for a new round of talks aimed at diffusing growing tensions over Tehran's plans for nuclear development. Iran's president says his country sees a favorable outlook for negotiations scheduled for tomorrow in Geneva. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to strike Iran if the country doesn't agree to limits on its nuclear program. Tehran's claimed those efforts have been peaceful. Iran's parliamentary speaker, meanwhile, said, quote, all options are on the table, both diplomacy and a defensive response that will make the enemy regret its attack. And while the Trump administration officials are in Geneva, they're also set to meet with a Ukrainian delegation as Washington tries to organize a new round of talks aimed at halting Moscow's invasion. Ukraine's president says it's not clear what's changed from previous meetings.
The problem is with the political will to stop this war and the question of territories. This is difficult, is what we have, nothing new. Between us, nothing new. They will try to speak tomorrow, and they will speak, I think, in first days of March trilaterally. I hope that we will have meeting and, of course, exchange of prisoners. This is where we are.
Meanwhile, Germany and Belgium urged Hungary to drop a veto put in place on the latest package of European Union sanctions on Russia and supports for Ukraine. Hungarian PM Viktor Orban is widely seen as the Kremlin's closest ally in the EU and took the step as he faces a tough re-election race. The federal government is offering up millions of dollars in aid to Cuba as the island struggles with ongoing food and gas shortages.
The crisis was prompted by an ongoing U.S. oil embargo. CTV's Heather Wright has the latest on how Ottawa is planning to help.
At Cubano King's in downtown Toronto, the menu is simple but authentic.
How you doing, buddy?
Cafecitos, Cubanos, Pastelitos. Canada has been Felix King Risco's home for 2 decades, but his heart is still in Havana with his family.
They're not doing so great.
His mother, aunts, and cousins all still live in Cuba, where electricity is limited, food is expensive, and gas is scarce.
6 o'clock, there's nobody in the street. People are afraid of getting mugged. People are afraid of getting robbed, all the staff.
Since January, the United States has blocked all oil from entering Cuba, trying to squeeze the Cuban government and force a regime change. But the blockade has quickly led to rapidly deteriorating conditions across the country. Today, Canada announced $8 million in aid to Cuba to be delivered through the World Food Program and UNICEF.
And Cuba is going to need massive assistance of various sorts, and food, I think, is going to be a big one. So $8 million worth of food won't go all that far for a population of about 10 million.
It's a balancing act for Ottawa as it tries to provide aid that goes directly to Cubans and not the Cuban regime, while also not inflaming tensions with the United States, which has vowed to place tariffs on any country that sends oil to the island nation.
I have not discussed Canadian aid intentions with Secretary Rubio or the United States. This is Canadian foreign policy.
For Felix King Risco, he says his country has been through many challenging times, but this one feels different.
Something needs to change.
Global Affairs Canada says this money will be released immediately, adding they continue to monitor the situation in Cuba and will respond accordingly in the future. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, the recent cartel violence in Mexico has raised concerns about the country's ability to host upcoming FIFA World Cup matches. Guadalajara, the capital of rest of Jalisco state, is among the host cities for the tournament. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says the matches will go ahead, adding there is no risk to fans. FIFA officials have also indicated they have no intention of changing their intended venues.
The RCMP is kicking off an annual tradition asking kids across the country to help name a new class of police dogs. The service says 13 German Shepherd puppies are set to be born at its training center in Alberta and is asking for name ideas from kids ages 4 through 14. A few rules apply, including the name given must start with the letter B. It also can't be more than 2 syllables or more than 9 letters long. Last year's contest for the letter A saw names chosen like Ace, Argo, Ash, and August. The 13 kids whose ideas were chosen or are chosen will get a special laminated photo of the puppy they named along with other prizes. Online entries are due by March 26th.
Adorable. Coming up, joining forces to combat human trafficking here in the GTA. The steps police, policymakers, and survivors are taking to fight it.
Well, without question, this has been a very snowy winter here in the city of Toronto. We had measurable shovel-worthy snow this morning, and this total doesn't even include that yet. So nearly 180 centimeters so far. Compare that to this time last year, about 50 centimeters less. But this is what we're celebrating today, the fact that the sun set after 6 p.m. and the sunrise this morning was 7:01. We are going to inch closer to that equinox, the vernal equinox on March 20th, but meteorological spring begins on March 1st. That is in our 7-day forecast. We'll take a look after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, let's talk about the forecast, and I like how you mentioned how we hit a milestone today.
It is so nice that we have daylight when we start this newscast, and in the weeks ahead, you'll see our reporters with day even more in the background. I think it's just a sign we've had a tough winter. It's been cold, it's been snowy, and it means spring's coming.
We need all the signs of spring we can get, and we actually do spring forward, not this weekend, but the one after that. So that's going to change the sunset time again to make it even later, which I think will be welcomed for so many. Yes, we did manage to get a little bit of sun today between those bursts of heavy flurries. Snow pellets reported in some areas too. And of course, most of us woke up to shovel-worthy snow. But it's not just here in Toronto. We were talking about how it's been a particularly snowy winter. This is the second major winter as far as snowfall is concerned for portions of Simcoe, Muskoka. This was Gravenhurst today, where the snow, it has certainly piled up. And portions of this region were under a special weather statement again today. It is still in place for Barrie, Midland, Penetanguishene, with 5 to 10 centimeters of snow possible by the time this latest system is finished. We've got snow squall warnings in place for areas to the east of Lake Huron, and still a special weather statement hanging on in eastern Ontario, but that one has come to an end for us here in the GTA. There goes the snow. Again, conditions are improving around the city of Toronto. Again, still quite snowy the further back you go toward the Lake Huron shorelines, thanks to some lake enhancement and some very strong westerly winds. Overall, things are going to settle down as we make our way into the night tonight. It's less snow that we have to worry about overnight tonight, and more so the return of some cold weather. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's pause this here. 2 p.m. tomorrow. Your Thursday brings a mix of sun and cloud. It could be more cloud than sun at times, but overall, pretty pleasant. Not a whole lot in the way of active weather. Chance of some brief flurries overnight and into Friday, and then Friday itself, once again, mix of sun and cloud, but hey, the upside to Friday is it's going to be quite mild. Wait until you see the forecast daytime high. Into Saturday, remaining mild, chance of some light mixing, and then the temperature is going to drop suddenly into the day on Sunday. So as far as any further snowfall accumulation is concerned, again, this is mainly outside of the GTA, an additional 5 centimeters of snow possible in places like Owen Sound and Huntsville. These winds are going to gradually settle down as we make our way through tomorrow mainly, and will be less of a story into the day on Friday. -2 degrees is where we are right now. We made it to +2 today, which is our seasonal norm. Overnight tonight, though, quite chilly. You'll notice this waking up and heading out the door tomorrow morning. It's going to feel like -17 once you take the winds into consideration, but we do rebound quite nicely. For us here in Toronto, it's a forecast daytime high of -1 degree, -2 for you in Aurora, 0 in Burlington, and -4 degrees for your Thursday afternoon in Huntsville. Here is the 7-day forecast. So how about +5 degrees for Friday, +4 on Saturday, Sunday, suddenly cold again, -5 the daytime high, overnight low back in the -teens. Sunday is also the first day of March. You could say it's coming in like a lion if you consider the cold weather. That's your look at the weather forecast for now. I'll send it over to you, Michelle.
Well, speaking of the weather, thank you, Lindsay. A harsh Canadian winter is taking its toll on our highways and streets, creating all kinds of potholes, bursting pipes, and more.
CTV's Adrian Gabriel looks into how the snow and cold is affecting our infrastructure.
Traversing roadways while dodging crumbling Canadian infrastructure can feel like a winter sport unto its own, with costly consequences. CAA reports its members in Ontario and Manitoba are forking over an average of $900 a pop out of pocket each time their vehicle is damaged by a pothole.
There's an additional cost that consumers bear or taxpayers bear when they suffer vehicle damage as a result of the infrastructure and the impact of our climate on the infrastructure.
It was on this side, and we went totally kaputso.
Georgia Nevinson's front tire was a casualty of a roadside crater.
Thankfully, my rim was fine. Otherwise, I would have had to fix those.
There's a real financial impact for Canadians.
There is. Do I now have to put in pothole insurance into my monthly budget?
Since January 1st, Toronto has repaired just over 23,000 potholes. By this time last year, the city had already filled 10,000 more. Year to date in 2024, road crews had patched up more than double this year's total. Toronto's Transportation Department says it's behind because crews have been too busy with snow removal operations. In Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia music legend Anne Murray recently took to social media, writing, "I'm going to get some sand for my car so I can start filling the potholes in the streets of Halifax." From burst water mains in Alberta to car-crushing craters, the cost of extreme winter weather is pushing rates even higher, according to the Insurance Bureau of Canada.
You need provincial governments, you need the federal government to really step up with funding for infrastructure that is more resilient to severe weather events.
This year in Toronto, they've nearly doubled the snowfall totals, and with more now falling, and with potholes that you can actually stand in, it's a safe bet that they will surpass last year's $153 million winter maintenance budget. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
They really are bad this year. Speaking of infrastructure concerns, motorists in Nebraska got an unpleasant surprise this week when they pulled up to a red light and the road collapsed beneath their vehicles. Take a look at the top right of your screen. You can see the moments the road surface crumbles and tumbles into, oh my goodness, a sinkhole, bringing those two vehicles along with it. This video from the scene shows the other cars on the road reversing away slowly. Omaha police say the two drivers whose vehicles fell in got out safely. Local officials blame this sinkhole on a water main break. And staying south of the border, some shocking moments for a sanitation worker were caught on camera in Ohio as a man popped out of a bin that was being emptied. Police say the man was actually a suspect they'd lost track of earlier Monday when he fled from a traffic spot. Now, despite running away again, he was eventually taken into custody.
Also tonight, the news might be considered therapeutic. A new poll places Toronto General Hospital second in the entire world. Why the facility ranks among the very best. Police, politicians, and victims have gathered in Mississauga for a two-day conference on human trafficking.
The goal of this event is to find ways to tackle a crime that targets young women. CTV's John Musselman reports.
The two-day symposium includes police, social services, politicians, and victims of human trafficking. And the goal is to expand professional networks to disrupt human trafficking. The event is being hosted by Victim Services of Peel Region.
To share knowledge, best practices, what works, what are the gaps, how do we fill those gaps, and how do we move forward to disrupting, combating, and preventing human sex trafficking in our cities.
As we know that supporting human trafficking survivors is not something that we can do alone, but something that we can only do collaboratively.
Here's a look at the numbers. 70% of victims identified police are under the age of 25. 62% of cases originate in the GTA. The average age is between 12 and 24 years old, and 63% of victims trafficked in Ontario are Canadian citizens. The symposium comes just 2 days after Peel Regional Police announced that 3 men and a youth have been charged in connection with an alleged sex trafficking case involving 3 girls aged 11 to 14.
I really believe it's a violation of human decency. It should not be happening. But again, another reminder of why it's so important to do these investigations, but why we also need to follow them up by supporting the survivors that we rescue.
The provincial government says it's investing more than $345 million in an anti-human trafficking strategy. The symposium continues tomorrow. John Musselman, CTV News in Mississauga.
Healthcare advocates met in Ottawa today to call for action to reverse a concerning cancer trend. Cervical cancer is the fastest growing type of cancer in the country, and experts say it is almost completely preventable. The Women's Health Coalition of Canada and the Society of Gynecologic Oncology of Canada are among the groups pushing for better detection and prevention of cervical cancer. Most cases are caused by HPV, and there is currently a highly effective vaccine available. Canada has a goal of eliminating cervical cancer by the year 2040 by vaccinating 90% of kids under 18.
Staff at Toronto General are celebrating today as Newsweek magazine has named the hospital the second best in the world.
Well, this is a great honor for UHN. This is an honor for all of our partner hospitals in the Toronto Academic Health Science Network and across this country. Canada has a great healthcare system, not a perfect one that needs improvement always, but we share this with all of our peers. We're a single team, and healthcare is a team sport.
The facility moved up a spot compared to last year, placing second behind the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. The list ranks the top 250 hospitals by surveying medical experts, patient experience, and quality metrics for more than 2,500 hospitals in 32 countries.
Did you notice lots of pink today? Maybe you wore some. Pink Shirt Day, the annual anti-bullying campaign, was marked across the country.
The first perspective that we got to challenge is this idea that snitches get stitches, because that concept continued to keep a group of students quiet while their colleagues are being physically and verbally abused and nobody's doing anything about it. And the last one is this idea that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And every time I share this, I get really emotional about it, because when I go to the school, there is a lot of pain between these walls of the schools. The level of suffering that these kids are going through. Our generation of youth have never been more isolated and more lonely than before. So there is a need to continue to empower them and encourage them to ask for help.
Pink Shirt Day was first organized by a group of students in Nova Scotia in 2007 as a show of support for a boy who was bullied for wearing pink. The anti-bullying campaign is recognized across the country and in New Zealand. The Pink Shirt Day organization has raised more than $3 million for anti-bullying initiatives since 2008. Stay with us.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
As expected, NVIDIA reported a blowout fourth quarter earnings report that hints the AI boom remains strong. BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya has more.
NVIDIA cleared the high bar with fourth quarter results that beat estimates, as well as a strong outlook for the first quarter. The company's fiscal fourth quarter surged 73% from the previous year and reported profits that nearly doubled to roughly $43 billion. CEO Jensen Huang implied these results feed into his thesis that the AI boom is still in its early stages of a build-out. NVIDIA's stock price rose nearly 4% in extended trading after the results came out. Reuters is reporting OPEC Plus will likely consider raising its oil output for April. This will mark an end to a 3-month pause in production increases. And according to the report, the consideration might come as the group prepares for peak summer demand and tensions between the U.S. and OPEC member Iran boost prices. Shares of Loblaw fell sharply today, seeing its largest intraday drop since 2023. Fourth quarter revenue missed estimates and profit came in slightly above expectations. The results come as high inflation and rising cost of living have led consumers to tighten budgets and save money. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar was up 10 cents to end the day. West Texas Intermediate dropped to 65.47. Western Canadian Select also down 50 cents to end the day. And the TSX closed on yet another new high, finishing above 34,000. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
For anyone planning to board a flight to the United Kingdom, as of today, there are some new entry requirements. Anyone entering the United Kingdom will now be required to obtain an electronic travel authorization, or ETA, through a dedicated app. It'll cost about $30 Canadian. The requirement will also impact travelers with a layover at UK airport if they have to change terminals and go through customs. Canada has required an electronic travel authorization for British citizens and other visa-exempt nationalities since 2016. Canada's Minister of Artificial Intelligence says he was left disappointed after meeting with OpenAI over the Tumbler Ridge School killings.
Staff at the big tech company flagged concerns about the shooter's post, but didn't tell police until it was too late. CTV's Judy Trin is following that story.
4 cabinet ministers responsible for artificial intelligence, justice, public safety, and Canadian culture met with OpenAI officials behind closed doors for 1 hour.
We're here and we're very grateful for the ministers for inviting us to be here. This is serious and we're going to be in touch. We're going to give a briefing to the ministers.
The ministers did not get an answer to their question about safety thresholds.
And we are disappointed that they did not provide any concrete proposal.
7 months before the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge, shooter Jesse Van Rootselaar's use of ChatGPT was flagged internally for abuse and enforcement. She was banned from the platform. But OpenAI did not alert police until after the rampage.
A course of failure occurred here.
We need to trust their behavior, not their reputation. The reality here is we need to see concrete measures that are going to be put forward.
The global leaders in clean technology, artificial intelligence, life sciences.
Since he took office, the Prime Minister has actively promoted AI investment to spur trade. Mark Carney is also signaling he wants results.
Obviously, anything that anyone could have done to prevent that tragedy or future tragedies must be done. We will fully explore it to the full lengths of law and will be very transparent about that process.
The government is currently working on several bills to regulate online harm. Some have been in progress for years.
I am very concerned about the government's capacity and willingness to address artificial intelligence policy writ large.
Although cabinet ministers described their meeting with OpenAI as disappointing, they noted that the tech officials said they would return at a later date, hopefully with answers. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Online chat platform Discord is postponing a controversial age verification policy after it faced a swift backlash. Discord says it has 200 million monthly users and it has to meet legal obligations for age verifications. Company officials say it's usually possible to tell if an account belongs to an adult or not. But those who are flagged as being potentially underage would have to upload a ID or agree to a face scan. And that prompted an outcry, with many critics citing privacy concerns. Discord now says it will delay implementing the policy from March until later this year. It also promises to offer more alternatives for ID verification before then.
Austin Matthews returned to practice today as the Maple Leafs get set to face off with the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. He spoke about his recent gold medal win and trip to the White House.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's special. I think I was sort of proud Americans, and doing something like that, winning a gold medal, obviously representing your country. Felt like it was a special honor to be invited.
Matthews took part in the team's optional skate this morning. He served as captain of the U.S. men's squad. He was delayed returning to the team after visiting the White House yesterday. Puck drop between the Leafs and Lightning set for just after 7:30 tonight in Tampa. Meanwhile, Team Canada captain Sidney Crosby's Olympic injury is now affecting his NHL season. The Pittsburgh Penguins star captain will be sidelined at least 4 weeks after suffering a lower body injury during Canada's quarterfinal win versus Czechia.
Obviously, I want to be back out there as soon as possible, so just have to figure out, what that looks like, how long it's going to be, and, find a way to make sure that I'm at my best when I come back.
It's a major hit to the Penguins' playoff push as the team heads into a crucial final stretch of the regular season. Just ahead on CTV News, hands-on learning with actual scientists. A new program reaches students that are underrepresented in the profession and provides real-world experience.
Finally tonight, it's a unique program aimed at giving budding young scientists a chance to get some hands-on experience.
CTV's Allison Hurst takes us inside the classroom.
Pour what's in your bag, about a quarter of it, into the filter.
Grade 7 and 8 students study the DNA of a strawberry.
You'll see like a white stringy layer will start to come out. There it is.
Just one of the 8 stations set up for the roughly 40 students from 6 different schools to attend.
We crushed it and then we put it into this solution, this detergent solution, and then we strained it, and then you could see the DNA float up to the top.
The program is run as a collaboration between Sunnybrook Hospital and the Center of Excellence for Black Student Achievement, designed to give students some hands-on learning directly with scientists.
Opportunities like this are very rare. So being able to come here and learn with a bunch of different biologists and scientists is just so cool.
This collaboration has been going on for about 5 years with high school students, but this is the first time staff say they've done it with grades 7 and 8 students and inside the school setting.
We want to make science more democratized. We want to show them that we can solve real-world problems as young as grade 7 and grade 8, and to also think about pathways that they can choose in terms of their careers.
The team is also trying to reach groups that are underrepresented in the sciences.
Individuals who identify as Black are hugely underrepresented in the sciences, and engagement at an early age is only one
part of solving that. There's a pretty complex issues surrounding lack of representation.
10 seconds. And go.
Jonathan Tamar says the experience, like participating in this Alzheimer's exercise, is more satisfying than a classroom because of the activity and hands-on learning.
We immediately started off with like bones, then we started doing other things like the brain and eyes. All of this is really important, and it makes me so happy that I get a chance to experience this.
Science was already something he's been interested in pursuing.
I love researching different things and learning more about our environment and what everything is.
Staff say the program is one they hope to run each year. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
All right, what a great program.
I know, love to see how passionate they are. Budding scientists, weather-wise, there's some science behind there. Is the winter over yet?
No, it is not, but weather is an imperfect science, as we like to say. So let's do our best here. We've got a few more flurries flying around southern Ontario. Quite snowy this hour around Bayfield and London. We might still get some flurry action here in the GTA, but we're not expecting measurable snow at this point. Here's a look at tomorrow. Mix of sun and cloud, daytime high -1 degree. It doesn't look all that warm, but that is an improvement from early in the morning when it's going to feel like -17 as many are heading out the door. Next couple of days, though, mild for both Friday and Saturday. Just don't get too used to that because Sunday is another chilly day. And then an early look at next week shows the possibility of some snow into Tuesday. Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.